Hi guys, I'm actually doing this on a normal time frame again, I guess, which is great. But this is episode 9 of The Story I Never Wanted. I feel like I have to go back a little bit because last week we had a video and I just didn't feel the satisfaction, I think, after I have been feeling with the last videos. Which is really strange. It was just like a storytelling, close the chapter, good, go. But like, it wasn't, I don't know, like after all the other videos have had like this, okay, that was like a good release. Like, man, that was, you laid it out, it was good. You laid it out, you laid down the things that have been bothering you, that's good, right? And I didn't do that. Last week, I just like, okay, told that chapter, good, next one. I'm like, no, the whole point of me doing these videos is to release things, surrender it to God, not hold on to the things that have been stuffed in the closet. So I'm not going to totally redo last week's video, but I just want to go back and touch on some things. So this is when we were living in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Let's see. I don't know. Fort Campbell just seems like it took so long. We were there for 4 years, and it literally felt like 10, 20, long time. Sorry, like the sun is changing. And I think there's like two things really that I think that are some things that I don't think bother me, but I think they do at the same time. So we may have these times in our lives where we hit these challenges or these roadblocks where you're like, why is this going on? What? But then we tend to shove it aside and act like it, like that's not important, whatever, it doesn't matter. But in the long run, it turns out to be things that are like kind of important. And like you don't realize how much it affects you until you go back and think about it and you're like, oh yeah, that's really freaking weird. So the first one I want to hit on is actually something that we had talked about through Freedom Group. If you guys have never been through Freedom Group, holy cow, what a life changer. And I feel like going through the 13 weeks of Freedom Group helps me slowly open the floodgates to releasing all the stuff I've packed away. But it's also, I think, I didn't know how to release it or talk about it. And I think I found the voice to actually say the things that I need to say. Freedom Group, absolutely recommend it, you guys. So the first one, this is something we had talked about during Freedom Group. So my husband and I decided early on when our kids were really little that we wanted to be in church with them. We had been invited to attend a service in Alaska by one of our friends, and we loved the church up there. And I think like when we attended Central Christian Church, woo, long time, you guys, it's been a long time. I think when we were attending that, we felt that sense of community and the values that they covered and the just, I don't even have words for it, the openness, the home, the community, the friendships that we found in Central Christian Church are the things that we wanted poured not only into ourselves but our kids. So like church became like a yes, this is something that we want to do. When we moved to Kentucky, it took us a while to kind of find our foothold on where we wanted to be in our faith with our kids. Like we knew we still had that like voice in our head saying this is something we want to do for our kids, but it was really hard to find something that measured up to our old church. And I think that was a big problem that we've seen between when we were in Alaska to now here in San Antonio, was that nothing measured up the same. So I think that was a hurdle that we had to overcome, and we had to stop the comparison. But eventually we found a church, can't remember the name of it right now, from one of our friends who had invited us to, I think it was an Easter service. And they had a separate area for kids ministry, which my older girls loved. Our youngest was still a baby. So like, it was really like, you can't really stick a baby. I mean, okay, you guys, I work in nursery of I serve in nursery in our current church, and I absolutely am for it. We serve babies 4 months till 18 months. And I know the impact and the value that we're instilling in these babies, but like my baby was a baby. So she was like a little too young. But we thought we had found a good church. The vibe was cool. The energy was great. The events that they did, the services, it felt good. You know, I think we were still playing that comparison game between Central Christian Church and this church. So it was like, man, you know, nothing's going to beat Central, but this is good for where we're at. You know, this is not forever. We just need something to kind of fill the gap. And then we had one service that we went to, and our youngest daughter was actually okay, so we got to sit in the auditorium, which is really weird. They have like 2 auditorium spaces, which is, it's a long story. And the message started going really well. They were talking about like the sanctity of marriage and relationships and everything like that, but it got to a point where it was very, like, it turned really quick. One man, one woman, one man, one woman, and one man and one woman, like very, it almost felt like anti-LGBTQ spewing a little bit, and it was very uncomfortable. So for those of you who don't know, and I'm sorry, sister, my younger sister belongs to the LGBTQ community. I love her. That's my sister, you guys. My sister and I may be night and day. Like, we're 11 months apart, and we couldn't be more different from each other. But when you sit through church and you hear a message like that, and you're like questioning yourself, like, but Jesus says to love everybody and to love their neighbor, and we're supposed to, like, the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated, and like, how can I sit through and agree with this message that literally is everything against what my sister is? Am I supposed to, like, oust her? She's no longer part of my society. She's no longer allowed to be my like, what? That doesn't make sense. So, like, it was extremely uncomfortable, and we didn't go to church the following week. And from what our friend had told us was that, oh, you know, we understand the message didn't go off as it was supposed to, and now we have an LGBTQ speaker coming in to kind of sanctify that. It felt like we spoke out of line, and now we're trying to save our image. That's what it felt like. So what I didn't understand at that time, and now I do, is actually called church hurt. Like, it kind of crosses the lines of where you feel safe and comfortable to this is not okay. And you're kind of good. So from there, we didn't go back to that church. And then we actually wound up moving to Georgia, and we didn't really go to church there either. But I'll go back to Georgia in a little bit. So the second thing, not just church hurt, the second thing, when we're in Fort Campbell, I definitely was playing the roller coaster with my anxiety. I knew, I think from when I was really young, I had anxiety. Like, I think, like, however many episodes back we talked about the what if game. What if? I know, looking back now, I know I had anxiety. So I was playing the roller coaster with my anxiety, because my husband was gone all the time, because he was deployed, because there's a lot going on as a mom of 3 kids, of 2 kids even, that are in school and learning the school schedule. Like, a lot happens. And something else that I learned in Freedom Group is you attract people who are like you. So if you're going through a roller coaster of anxiety, you're going to attract other people who are going through a roller coaster of anxiety. And those are going to be your friends. Your friend circle are literally people who mirror who you are. And, like, looking back now in the state of mind and the peace that I have now, like, back then, bro, I was a mess. So I think, like, I attracted friends who were a mess. And where I am now is absolutely not the person I was. So I feel like I've grown out of that person. But I still talk to these people. So I'm like, oh, Lord, like, I'm just going to pray for you because I can't do anything else. I don't know what to do. And that's kind of like, I feel a little bit guilty, but I feel like I've grown a lot as a person, and I can recognize now the mess that I was compared to who I am now, but it also helps me recognize when I do have anxiety and when I do start to get overwhelmed. And it's really straight. It's hard to explain. Like, I know now what I couldn't see then, kind of thing. So that was a mess. That was a mess. And that's another reason why I don't like Campbell, because I don't like remembering that. So for me, Fort Campbell is not just a place. It was events. It was a mess of a mind frame. It was a lot. Also, I broke my leg when I was in Campbell. Yeah, I did. I slipped on a curtain and I broke my leg and separated my ankle. And that was the year before I had our youngest daughter. So that was not fun either. Don't like to remember that. But the rain reminds me constantly when my ankle starts hurting. I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that. But I think that part that I left out of last week's episode is probably the reason that I didn't feel very fulfilled last week. Because, like, now I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like, that sucks. But yeah, so when you have anxiety, it's really hard to have friends around you who also have anxiety, because everybody needs something. And then when you're also a people pleaser, it's, like, really hard because you just feel like you're being drained sometimes. Yes. Anyways, after Fort Campbell, we moved to Fort Benning, Georgia. So, I can't remember what year. I'm horrible with years. I think it was 2018, and we were there for 3 years. Again, we didn't try to find a church. We stayed busy. I think that was our answer to, oh yeah, sorry, we can't go to church because we have this event, or we have this event, or we have this thing, or we have this other thing. Staying busy. It's exhausting. And yeah, people are looking and go, oh my gosh, Sherry Supermom, I don't know how you can do all this. I'm holding on. That's what I'm doing. I'm barely holding on. So when we were in Georgia, I took over as Girl Scout leader for my own troop. I had my own co-leaders. I had my girls in MMA. They went 3 times a week. My older 2 daughters, our youngest daughter just kind of like chilled with me, which was great. What else? I took over as service area manager for Girl Scouts, so I was overseeing all the Girl Scout troops on I almost said Fort Sam Houston, that's here, Fort Benning. But not like running them. I was just making sure that their troop leaders were good and that everybody had all the information and was up to date on trainings, and helped plan events for all of us to get together because we like community. Pretty much making sure our community was good. And then talking to council. So a lot of networking. That's where I learned really well to do networking. And that was the last year we were in Georgia. While I was also there, I started my small business. It was a very fast 3 years. Luckily, Leo didn't deploy while we were in Georgia. He didn't really do overnights very much. Like, he had, we call it guard duty, but CQ, staff duty, whatever. Just overnight watch duty to make sure the buildings were okay. He had that a couple times. But Benning, I think, was our slowdown for Leo's work, where we actually got to see him a little more. But personally, like, on the other end, family life, we were just busy, and it was exhausting. It was exhausting. So we were there for 3 years, and we moved here to Fort Sam Houston in June of 21, the end of June 21, which was crazy. So for that last, I think, week we were in Georgia, we stayed in a cabin that was kind of owned by it's called the MWR. I'm trying to think of it. It's like morale, wellness, whatever, recreation. It's like a military affiliated, like, recreation spot. So they had cabins, and we decided to stay in a cabin, and it was so peaceful to be in nature. Just the slow pace of it was really good, because this is coming from MMA, school, Girl Scouts, work, like all the things, and it just paused. We got to hit the pause button on that. The only problem is that the Army doesn't like to do things logically sometimes. So we were forced to move all of our stuff ourselves. So when you're in the Army, you have 2 different options when you move. You can have military movers come pick all your stuff up for you, drive it to your new location, drop it off for you. If you want, they'll unpack it for you, but they absolutely box all your stuff, right? And we found out kind of very last minute that that was not an option. So we were forced to do the second option, which is completely move yourself. And then there's kind of like an in-between where you can do a partial, like, move yourself thing. But that wasn't even an option. That was what we wanted, was a partial move yourself, so we can take, like, the necessities. And then the military can take all the other stuff, right? So we were forced to pack all of our stuff, rent a U-Haul, pack the U-Haul, get everything on the U-Haul, bring the U-Haul down to the camping area. Like, it was a mess. It was a mess. But it was like, I don't know, being in that cabin, it just like the world stopped for a moment. And it was great. And my kids will always talk, when can we go to a cabin again? Like, they loved it. I think Leo and I loved the fact that we could breathe. So getting in nature, you guys, if you're ever overwhelmed, just get back to nature and breathe. Slow down, which I need to constantly remind myself to slow down. And then we drove here, which was fun. We had walkie-talkies. I took our van. Leo took the U-Haul. His car was hitched to the back of the U-Haul. We split kids, and we're just like walkie-talkie the whole way. We stopped in New Orleans first, and that was a mess. Don't ever take a big truck or a U-Haul to New Orleans. That's impossible. And then we stopped in Houston, and then we got here to Fort Sam Houston, and our house wasn't ready. We had to stay in a hotel for 9 days. So we had to put our stuff into storage. And it rained the day we did that. And then we moved into our first house here on Fort Sam Houston. And it literally rained the day we picked up our stuff and moved into the house. But, like, we were younger, so it didn't matter. We've been here for 4 years, so I was 31 when we did this. So it's still energetic. Our kid, like, I don't know. I think those are the memories where things don't work out the way you had hoped for them to work out. But looking back, it's like really funny now. Not in the moment. It was very frustrating. But like, I can't believe we moved all of our stuff across a couple states and unloaded it in the rain, reloaded it in the rain, unloaded it in the rain. Like, the things that happen that you kind of don't feel upset or frustrated about anymore, and you just can laugh about it. That is some of life's weirdest, funniest moments, and those are, I think, are like little gifts from God. Like, you weren't expecting this. I'm gonna throw a wrench in all your plans. You're gonna do things different because I'm gonna challenge you. And then in the end, it may have been a frustrating like time of your life, but now you can sit back and laugh at it. Like, I honestly think those are little gifts from God. And I do. I like really appreciate that move. It's frustrating, but I really appreciate that move because it was just, there's no way that we have a story like that to tell. It's insane. But yeah, we got here. Our daughters started 7th grade and 4th grade and pre-K. My youngest baby was in pre-K, and it wasn't half-day pre-K like my middle daughter had in Kentucky. It was all day pre-K, so that was like really sad. And she was a mess. My youngest daughter cried like every single day when he dropped her off at school, and she wouldn't talk at school. And it got to a point where her teacher was like, hey, she talks, right? I'm like, yeah, dude, she talks all the time. What are you talking about? She goes, no, she doesn't talk at school. So I had to ask because I was also doing PTO, which I'd sworn off. So when we got here, I had no intention of joining PTO. I was looking actually at Girl Scout Leader again because it was what I was doing. And the Girl Scout leader here was like, yeah, we only meet like every other week. Like, why don't you come join the PTO? I'm like, hi, geez, Louise. Sure, why not? Right? Because I don't have any kids at home anymore. They're all at school. And that's going to start a whole nother wave of stories that I will tell next time. But I feel like coming here to Fort Sam Houston has been, is the easiest transition we've ever had into a duty station. So usually as a military family, when you move to a new location, your kids lose their friends and they have to make friends all over again. We lose the comfort of the school system and we have to rebuild that trust all over again. We lose the familiarity of the location that we're in and we have to rebuild that all over again. And we don't know our way. And I'd run on GPS for like the first year we're here. And moving here, yes, I still use my GPS sometimes because the highways here, I call them spaghetti highways because they're a mess. It's like if you guys ever drive through Orlando. Like, it's a mess. But like, it was the most comfortable, easy transition as a family for us to get here, which is very rare. It's very rare. Like, sometimes when you move as a military family, you are anxious and nervous and hesitant and frustrated because you know you have to start your life all over again in a new location. And I felt all that when we left Georgia, but then when we got settled here, it was like, that's it. This is so easy. It's so easy. But you guys, that is the start of our story here, where we are now, Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, Texas. A lot has happened in the last couple years. So that one, I'm like, I can't wait to share it with you guys. I'm like excited, but then ready to lay that all out because these last couple years have been really hard. And exciting and fun and scary and frustrating, and I love it all at the same time. Talk about roller coaster of emotions. But thanks for sticking around, you guys. I know, like, after some of the videos, some of you guys reach out, and it's been really weird and interesting at the same time because for some people I've known like ages, and trying to open that door of like blah, blah, spill it all out has been really strange. And some of you guys I've known for the last year, and you guys already know this stuff, but now it's like more on a deeper level. So like, just, I'm so grateful, and thank you for being so gracious with this process. And I don't know, I don't have words. I don't want to get sad because it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But yeah, guys, this is just the story I never wanted. So stay tuned for next week, you guys. Hopefully I'll get it done on time. Going back to Tuesdays. And again, thank you. And I will see you guys later. Bye.